Okay, let's dig into this. You're probably listening because, well, you see the issues with our current food system, right? The tired soil, biodiversity loss.
Yeah.
Farmers often feel stuck.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge.
But what if there's a different way? Like redesigning the farm itself, seeing it as a whole interconnected system, not just separate parts.
And that's exactly what the material you sent over highlights. This Drakestone model of closed-loop agroecology. It's quite compelling.
It really is. It sounds like more than just small adjustments.
Oh, definitely. It's a full reimagining, really, from the ground up.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive, to really unpack this Drakestone model. We want to figure out how it weaves together everything, the animals, the plants, even stuff usually called waste.
Exactly. How it creates a self-sustaining system that actually, improves the land. It's a much more holistic view of producing food.
Okay, so what's the big picture here? Their vision.
Well, the core idea is this shift, moving away from just taking from the land towards actively working with it. They talk about farming in harmony with nature.
Harmony with nature.
Yeah, and where every single element has multiple jobs, multiple purposes, and crucially, seeing value in things that, well, conventional farming might just throw away.
That waste is resource idea. And they're aiming higher than just sustainable, aren't they?
They are. They specifically mention moving beyond sustainable, which, let's be honest, sometimes just means slowing down the damage, right? Towards something that's genuinely regenerative, restorative, and resilient. It feels much more proactive, more hopeful for agriculture's future.
So how do they achieve that? What's the mechanism?
The foundation is this closed-loop system concept. Now, just to be clear, closed loop doesn't mean it's sealed off from the world.
Right, not like a biodome or something.
Exactly. It means it's designed to be largely self-renewing. The outputs from one part feed another part. It's all driven by this philosophy they call agroecological practology.
Agroecological practology. Okay.
Yeah, it's about blending ecology, economics, and ethics in a very practical way on the farm.
Okay, let's get practical then. How does it actually work? The interactions between the animals and plants in this Drakestone model, the livestock seem pretty central.
They really are. It's about seeing animals not just as, say, meat or egg producers, but as active, multifunctional parts of the farm's ecosystem, giving them specific jobs.
Jobs beyond just producing.
Precisely. They've looked at the natural behaviors of different animals and figured out how those behaviors can actually benefit the whole system, like the pigs.
Ah, yes, the pigs, often just seen as messy, right?
But here, they're called biological rototillers.
Biological rototillers. I like that. How does that work?
Well, they use what's called a deep bedding system, so layers of wood chips, maybe some corn or spent grain mixed in.
Okay.
And the pigs do what pigs do. They root around looking for food, and by doing that, they're constantly turning and aerating this bedding material.
Ah, so they're basically tilling it themselves.
Exactly. And mixing in their manure, which gets composted right there in the bedding, it becomes incredibly rich in microbes. It's like a living compost machine.
That's really smart. Okay, what about the other animals? They mentioned chickens, turkeys, cows, sheep.
Yeah, each one fits in. The cattle and sheep, they're the natural mowers, basically. Grazing keeps the pastures healthy, and, they spread fertilizer as they go.
Natural fertilizer spreaders. Makes sense.
Then following them, you have the chickens and turkeys. They come in and scratch through the manure left by the cows and sheep.
Why do they do that?
They're looking for fly larvae and other pests, so natural pest control. Plus, scratching helps break down the manure further, kind of sanitizing it.
Wow. So it's all connected.
Deeply connected. That's the core idea. As they put it, it's like each species is a vital cog in a natural, self-replicating machine.
That image really sticks a farm working in synergy. Okay, so the animals are doing all this work, composting, mowing, pest control. How does that impact the soil directly? Because that's fundamental, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that deep bedding compost from the pigs, that's central to their soil strategy. They take that finished compost and apply it to the fields.
And the benefits are?
Huge. Massively improved fertility, obviously. But also, it helps reduce soil erosion and really boosts the soil's ability to hold water, which is just critical, especially with, changing weather patterns, resilience.
Better water retention, less runoff.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they disturb the soil as little as possible overall.
That's right. This minimal disturbance is key for building up that healthy soil life, the fungi, the bacteria, and it helps the soil store more carbon, too.
So it ties into carbon sequestration as well. And it's not just about adding compost, is it? Their planting methods matter, too. They mention diversity and rotation.
Yes, definitely. They grow a wide mix of crops, roots like carrots and beets, greens like kale, herbs, lots of variety. And they rotate where things are planted each season.
The classic rotation benefits, right?
Yeah.
Preventing pests and diseases from building up, balancing nutrient use.
Exactly. It's a cornerstone of agroecology. Avoids depleting the soil of specific nutrients.
And then there's the no-till aspect.
Yeah.
Which I think for many people sounds weird. Farming usually involves plowing, right?
That's a common image, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the Drakestone model really embraces minimal soil disturbance. They use permanent beds for planting.
Permanent beds.
Yeah, so you're not constantly digging everything up. The focus is on feeding the soil life, building organic matter continuously, cycling nutrients biologically.
So how do they manage that without tilling?
Well, they make it clear, no-till isn't neglect. It actually requires more observation, more careful management. Things like using cover crops to protect the soil, targeted composting, companion planting. It's observation-led intervention, not just leaving it alone.
Okay, less physical disruption, more working with the soil biology. That fits the closed loop idea. Now, what about water? Always a critical factor.
For water, they really try to work with the land's natural shape, using the contours, observing how water flows naturally.
And the pigs help here too, somehow.
Believe it or not, yes. Those ditches the pigs make while rooting, they can actually help channel and collect rainwater, reducing runoff.
Huh. Using pig ditches for water management. That's creative.
It's all about observing and integrating. This helps water soak into the ground better, replenishing groundwater, needing less irrigation potentially.
Okay, we've covered a lot of the how. Let's circle back to this term they use, practology. It's not a standard farming term.
No, it seems specific to their model. They define it as their applied philosophy, basically taking their core beliefs and values and making them real through specific actions on the farm. It's philosophy in practice.
Right. Can you give some more concrete examples of practology?
Sure. We talked about the water harvesting using those pig channels, right? That's one. Cover cropping is another.
Okay.
Also, how they carefully take the compost from the animal bedding and apply it precisely where it's needed most in the fields. That targeted approach.
Strategic composting.
Exactly. And propagating their own rootstock, the base part of grafted plants. Over time, that becomes a really valuable resource for plant health. And doing inter-row planting.
Planting between the main crops. Why?
Multiple reasons. Attracting pollinators, accumulating certain nutrients, maybe suppressing weeds naturally. It's another layer of integration stemming directly from that closed-loop philosophy.
It really sounds like every action is considered very intentional, and it seems like they're just as intentional about how they connect with people off the farm. So moving from production to marketing, it's not your typical approach, is it?
Not at all. They emphasize selling the system, not just the goods.
Selling the system, meaning?
Meaning when you buy, say, their tomatoes or eggs, you're not just buying food, you're buying into the whole story, the values, the connection to the land, the regenerative practices. That's what they're marketing.
So it's about the narrative, the transparency. How do they get that story out?
They use a mix of things. Strategic signs on the farm itself. Short videos showing what they do day to day. Developing value-added products, too, like fermented foods, smoked meats, herbal things. Showing the farm's diversity.
Value added. That makes sense. Extends the reach.
And they focus on direct sales. Neighborhood markets, QR codes for easy purchasing right there. The goal isn't necessarily huge grocery store contracts.
It's more about community.
Exactly. Building trust, building a community, they call it a tribe around the farm. Direct relationships based on shared values.
That direct connection is powerful. Now, technology, we live in a tech world. How does something so, earth-based like this model interact with modern tech?
That's an interesting aspect. They see tech as a tool, but specifically to enhance human decision-making, not replace the farmer's intuition or observation.
So it's supportive, not dominant.
Right. Selective use of innovation, always checking if it aligns with their core principles, ecological harmony, stewardship.
What kind of tech are we talking about?
Well, they mentioned using AI, potentially, to monitor things like soil moisture, crop health signs, maybe even animal behavior patterns.
AI on the farm.
Yeah, and things like solar-powered sensors in greenhouses to help optimize conditions, RFID tags, maybe blockchain for tracking the lineage of their heritage animals or valuable rootstock, even drones for scouting fields efficiently.
Or drones for scouting.
Okay. They frame it as autonomous innovation for sovereign operations. using tech to be more independent, more effective stewards. Like the AI could analyze soil moisture data to fine-tune irrigation, saving water without needing someone to manually check constantly.
Using smart tools to support smart farming.
Got it. Okay, underlying all these practices,
Yeah.
there's a philosophy. They talk about reclaiming Eden and this other term, volcarchism. What's that about?
This philosophy is really the bedrock. Reclaiming Eden speaks to their deep sense of stewardship. They see the earth not just as resources, but as a divine system to harmonize with.
Harmonize with. Yeah, and every farm activity, from the pigs turning soil to seeds growing, is seen as almost a sacred transaction. It's about restoration, not just production.
A much deeper view of farming. And how does volcarchism connect to that? It sounds specific.
In their context, as they explain it, volcarchism is about the connection between a community's identity, its heritage, its liberty, and the land it lives on.
So tying culture and freedom to the soil.
Essentially, yes. Grounding those core aspects of life in the health and vitality of the land they care for. Their farming is an expression of that connection and responsibility.
It's a very integrated worldview, connecting the practical farm work to these bigger ideas. Okay, so for someone listening, maybe intrigued by all this, what are the key actionable methods? What defines their approach day to day?
It's really this blend of old and new, tradition and innovation. They use things like JDEM and Korean natural farming, KNF methods, to make their own natural farm inputs.
Making their own fertilizers and pest controls.
Exactly. Reducing reliance on outside synthetic stuff. Then there's the strict no-till approach we talked about, using the animals strategically for composting and land management.
Right, the biological rototillers and mowers.
And integrating what they call autonomous infrastructure. Smart irrigation that responds to conditions, maybe app-based ways to track livestock, low-cost AI tools to help diagnose crop problems early. It's hands-on, but tech-informed.
Very practical combination.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they were trying to get others involved, investors, partners, maybe just supporters, what's the core message? What's their pitch?
Well, it doesn't sound like they're asking for handouts. It's more like an invitation to invest in what they see as the future.
The future of food and farming?
Yeah. Supporting land regeneration, boosting local economies, educating new farmers, and maybe even sparking a cultural shift towards more responsibility and self-reliance. That's the opportunity they present.
So for you, the listener, thinking about this Drakestone approach, how could you engage with it? What are the options they suggest?
They actually lay out several paths. As a consumer, you could buy their food directly clean, high-quality stuff. If you happen to own land, maybe there's a way to lease it to them for this kind of regenerative use.
Interesting. Land leasing.
Yeah. Or if you're wanting to farm this way yourself, they seem open to offering guidance, mentorship based on their experience. And for investors, it's presented as a chance to put capital into real, tangible assets, land, livestock, with this long-term restorative vision.
So multiple ways to potentially participate.
Definitely. They seem to see it as a model others can actively join and benefit from.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on the Drakestone model, what's the main thing you think folks should take away?
I think the crucial point is just how comprehensive and interconnected this approach is. It really does go beyond just doing less harm. It's actively trying to regenerate, to restore, by treating the farm as this single living ecosystem.
Right. It's a whole system perspective.
Huh.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. Thinking about how they integrate everything, how they turn waste into a resource. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How could we apply that kind of closed-loop thinking elsewhere, in other parts of our lives, other systems? What potential could we unlock? What could we reclaim just by shifting our view and looking for those connections?
That's a really powerful question to ponder. And look, if your curiosity about the Drakestone model itself is sparked and you want to learn more, the sources had contact details.
Ah, right.
Yeah, they're located at 119 Sheraton Lane. The email is consultforlegacy.dst@gmail.com. And there's a number for Mr. Stubbs, 803-915-4356, call or text.
Okay, good to know.
And they offer various things: meats, plant starts, livestock, herbs, that rich compost. Plus, they seem open to farm tours and partnership talks. So if you're intrigued, it sounds like there are ways to explore further. An open invitation, really.